You're listening to the ShakeUp, your number one mobile morning show.
Nevertheless, T.I. sat down with the T.I.P. sat down with Trevor Noah. Actually, he was introducing one of his new videos, which had some very, very interesting imagery. It was a black cop on the other side and a white boy, an unarmed white man that died. And Trevor,
an unarmed white boy that died from playing with a toy gun.
Child that died. It was a child.
Yes, not a man.
And so Trevor Noah was like, "Look, this imagery is something else." You know, like, and T.I.'s like, "No, what something else is, this is our reality. And what you saw was just, it wasn't real." These are the things we live through every day.
Right. What you watched was fiction. What we deal with every day that's our reality.
Again, MJ, I feel like
I love when people try to joke people to give them a different perspective, because just like A Time to Kill. Love that movie. His closing argument.
I feel like people struggle with the fact that is our reality, that we really do live with the fact that we could die at any moment. And so T.I.'s video, as he was explaining to Trevor, this is pretend. This is fiction. What happens to the black man every day is nonfiction. And he went on. He tried to further talk, through the situation. And Trevor asked him a really interesting question that has bred some interesting conversation.
And we feel like T.I. had the perfect response.
Yeah, I think his response was classic.
In reality.
Now, there's always a tough question that gets thrown. I mean, I'm a huge hip-hop fan.
Okay.
And then you get people who will say, I hear you guys saying you want justice. I hear all hip-hop stars and fans saying that this is not right. Mm-hmm. But then in hip-hop, people are talking about guns. People are talking about shooting. People are saying things like, fuck the police.
Absolutely.
And they go like, how is this helping the dialogue? As a hip-hop artist, how do you reply to that?
Well, first of all, I think that people need to take into consideration that hip-hop traditionally has always been a reflection of the environment the artist had to endure before he made it to where he was. So if you want to change the content of the music, change the environment of the artist, and he won't have such negative things to say.
I can tell you, when I was asked that question, I didn't have as eloquent an answer. I will now direct them to this video, man.
All right, so
classic answer.
I mean,
that was perfect.
Perfect answer, perfect response for what people misunderstand to be, I guess, what we consider our reality. You know what I'm saying? I think we sit and deal with people are products of their environment, and he just said that in a very eloquent way, in my opinion. I think he said, look,
that's basically exactly what he said.
People are products of their environment. So when you hear hip hop, you hear, this is how this person grew up. This is this person's story. This is what I saw. This is what I lived. Oh, it's so violent. That's what I lived. It was violent. It was brutal. It was intense.
But I've seen people argue that one was when I'm on the fence. It's like a thin line between me thinking that somebody is brainwashed and somebody is like, they don't even understand what they're saying themselves, and it being really like their opinion. So one comment was, we, more than any culture, degrade women, glorify drugs and violence. To me, that was the equivalent in saying, like, when people talk about black on black crime.
I was gonna say
like there's not white on white crime.
That's also an inaccurate statement.
It's very inaccurate. That's what made me mad. It's very inaccurate.
I feel like you see us doing it more because you are us. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like, okay, I don't know if they're brainwashed or they don't realize that, okay, because somebody put that in your head. They put the phrase black on black crime in your head. Because do you ever hear anybody say white on white crime? I don't hear it. Do you hear people say that?
That's because they don't say it.
They don't understand, but that phrase was put out there. And we say it like...
for us to see that we had a problem.
Exactly. For us to point out that we have a problem, but like there's not, okay, you're saying something that... there's race on race crime. We glorify this. And
people kill people in their own communities.
We more than
so if
any
you're
culture,
around a lot of black people...
I don't agree with we more than any culture glorify drugs and violence.
If that was true, MJ...
what music do you listen to, Solange Simpkins? What music do you listen to? Tell me what music you listen to. Tell me what music you don't listen to. Go listen to that music and tell me what they talk about.
Well, I know for a fact that there's tons of music on the other side about drugs and violence.
My point. Exactly.
I also know that there are also drug problems and sex problems and human problems in places like Brazil, in places like India, in places like Europe, in places like England, in places like France, in places like China, Beijing, Tokyo.
Everywhere.
Every single place in the world that there is an issue.
Also,
it's a human issue. It's not a black issue.
My point, race on race. Another thing I want to point out that T.I. said, very important, because people listen to something one time and I think they take bits and pieces of it and interpret it into something else, or they come up with their own opinion, not listening to specific words he said. This was their environment. There was a comment from somebody about what T.I. said, but he said he created whatever environment that he's in. He specifically said people need to take into consideration that hip-hop traditionally has always been a reflection of the environment that the rapper was in before he made it to the point he was at. So before that point, that's exactly what so they talk about what rap, this is traditionally, that's how rap evolved. They talked about the situations, the struggles that they had to endure, their environment before they made it to the point, to the place exactly where they are now. That's exactly what they rap about. That's how rap evolved. Good morning. You're on the ShakeUp. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, so about this, I guess, what T.I. said, and I guess the role of hip-hop in black-on-black violence, or...
You mean race-on-race violence?
Race-on-race violence.
Right, because black-on-black violence was a phrase that was said to you, and I think you, owned it, because you've never heard the phrase white-on-white violence. Everybody has always heard black-on-black violence. It's actually race-on-race violence.
Okay, so I think we all agree that the environment that we live in, or that they talk about, was systematically created, and they rap about their experiences. But I listen to white music or country music. I listen to pop music, listen to Euro pop, everything, and nobody talks about killing each other the way that we do. And it's on our radio stations. It's not the hardcore rap you have to download or search for. You listen to Dej Loaf, she talked about killing somebody's whole family. I don't know who Young Metro is, but if we don't trust them, or who he don't trust gets shot, apparently, it's like we glorify it's to the max. And we can blame the record companies for putting on the radio, we can blame the artists, but it's not like that in other cultures. And so when I walk down the street, people who have heard the rap artists who've crossed over and they talk about this violence, that's what they see when they look at me. So it's affecting all of us. It's affecting all of our image. So I think it's a lot more. It's a lot deeper than just oh, I grew up where I saw somebody get shot. Well, you may have seen it, but you're talking about you're actually killing somebody and you're happy to do it. Or that you killed someone and it was a good thing. It's not like I regret it or I was protecting myself. It was like I just ran into somebody's house because they had something I wanted, and I took it. And it's glamorous to do that now.
So do you think that's not a microcosm of hip-hop culture? Because I think that, of course, we could always find any type of artist. You mentioned country music or pop music. Pop music, anything that's popular is pop. But I think that you listen to something like death metal or something like a heavy metal, that stuff that is considered that's also white music. There's very dark music that is produced
I don't know what you mean by white.
By people in other cultures.
Find me a death metal station on the radio, the regular airwaves.
So
radio station.
But your argument is that our music is pop culture. That's nothing new. Everything that we do always takes over the culture. That's what black society has done as long as it has existed. It's created and then emulated. So what you see is popular music right now. Hip hop is the popular culture. The number one consumer of hip hop purchased music is white America. And they play this music in their homes because they want to live these stories that these black people have lived. What I'm saying is I think that I don't think that we glorify that, but I also believe that it's a microcosm of what's popular today. We can go back maybe 10, maybe even 15 years. There was more heavy rap that was more about inciting violence and rap music. But even if those things end up on the tracks today or on the albums today, it's not the stuff that gets played for the most part on the radio. The stuff that gets played in mainstream that kids are consuming on the FM airwaves and on digital airwaves and things like that is music. It's like popcorn pop music.
I admit that a lot of music, I listen to it. I'll listen to artists who talk about shooting and killing, whatever, and I don't identify with it necessarily, but I can't say that our youth or people that are younger than me who are impressionable aren't taking it to heart because they're in those environments. So they say, I have to live this way. I don't see the music isn't giving them another option, in my opinion. So I think it could make it worse, or it could hold up progress for people who only know that. It's not giving them another option. It's just.
There's no other options. You talked about
glamorous.
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, but Kendrick Lamar, you hear
that's
like
another
a
option.
couple of his songs, but Kendrick Lamar is a great artist, and he talks about this same environment that he grew up in, where he's getting shot and killed and drugged, but he talks about it in a way that's not detrimental. It's not glamorous. It's like, let's get out of this. Even J. Cole or Kid Cudi, they all talk about it in a way where it's like, yeah, it's our story, this is our art, this is our truth, but it's not like Young Thug or Lil Wayne or Jeezy or Boosie who glamorizes it and talks about people they killed or who they robbed. It's two different things. And for T.I., who usually wrote Man, he could talk about it like that too. I admit T.I. has evolved a lot, and a lot of times when he talks about violence, it's usually like, don't try me because I can still defend myself. But a lot of other artists haven't evolved that way. Young Jeezy still talks about it.
Here's the question I have. So T.I., what he said more specifically was the most interesting thing to me, because what he said is the reason that this music is made is because these people talk about their stories. They're not thinking about who they're influencing at that point. Somebody saw something in them because of their story. So they talk about their story. And the only point that T.I. made was that if you don't want them to talk about that story specifically, give them another environment to grow up in. The reason that they don't have these other environments that they grew up in, white America will say, well, you created that environment and you perpetuate the environment with your welfare and your food stamps. However, we know that this environment was created. That was not something that they chose to be in there. Are some people in it by choice and choosing to stay there? Absolutely. Is that the vast majority of people?
Yeah, I think you're not thinking about like what the things that happen to us that we don't have an option about. We don't choose. And some of that is our environments.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe what he's talking about.
If
right now, at
this
very day, present day, yes, he can choose his environment.
Yeah. If somebody out of this environment comes up to you in your comfortable area, or you're in their area by chance, or wherever it happens, they come to you, pistol whip you, and rob you, you're not going to be like, oh, you're a product of your environment. You can be like, that dude made a choice to physically assault me and take from me. You're not going to say, oh, it's from your environment, I don't blame you. It's like it's about their environment until it happens to you. Like we all live comfortably now. We're not in the hood anymore. We may have had exposure to it, but if that part comes to where we're at, we're not going to talk about, oh, it's the environment. We're going to, oh, hell no, put him in jail. He's a menace to society. We're going to talk about it in that way because it's affecting us in a different way.
I think.
Just think about it.
Well, I think when it happens, there may be some truth to that. But looking at it, regardless, you are doing this because of the environment. The facts show that the odds are stacked against the black man or people that grow up in disadvantaged communities or have less opportunities. The facts also show that the same black person, even though we got out, even though we're out, we still have less opportunity.
A disadvantage just because of the color of our skin. Regardless of the environment, we still have a disadvantage.
And so all I'm saying is it's great for us to want that for them. And yes, I want them to want it for themselves. Sometimes they don't get to that point immediately. But I can't sell them a dream or a lie or tell them you get your credit score to 750 and the bank's going to give you a loan. They're still not giving your black ass a loan because you're black.
Right.
I think it's the truth. So what we're saying, the point, T.I. spoke truth. And I think maybe that's what people mix up with rap. It's truth. It's a lot of truth in rap, in the lyrics. It's truth. Maybe you don't hear that, and I beg to differ. I don't listen to that music, so I can go listen to it. I'm pretty sure I'll find some. But I, for one, I don't listen. I listen to rap, R&B, and hip hop. That's what I listen to. I don't listen to those other genres. I can go ahead. I can go ahead and say that I'm pretty sure that they talk about their environment. The point is, it's different.
Yeah, I think a lot of them try to exaggerate too, just to have that street cred.
We know
maybe
people
at
do
the
that
expense
sometimes
of some
too.
people that listen to it. But I agree that it's part of the environment. I agree that the environment, the socially, systematically, things are built to be against us. But I think that there is, at the very least, a small sliver of responsibility, since we are in 2016, that we can kind of take to kind of move forward on our own. Like you guys were talking about earlier, that with Dabo, that they said they give us this and they gave us that. Yeah. You guys wanted it to be a point where they didn't have to give us anything. But if we have that mentality, then if our environment is this way, then based on what y'all saying, we have the power to change our environment.
Absolutely.
So
and I believe holistically that we do have the power to do that. And those are conversations that we have to have internally, but it has to start with accepting each other and accepting ourselves and moving forward together instead of trying to meet a standard that is set by somebody else that is never going to accept us until we've accepted ourselves. And I think it begins
That's what I think.
internally.
I think black people need to accept black people. Black people need to accept black culture and stop looking for acceptance from other cultures who are not going to accept us. Maybe in the future, we're not seeing it. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it yet.
Well,
we don't
another
need
thing is, if you think about it, we know, and we don't have to rehash this. We know that we don't accept each other and we don't accept ourselves because we've been oppressed.
Exactly.
We can grow past that, though. Exactly. We should not limit that. The reason that immigrants come to America and they're successful is because they were accepted back wherever they came from. They didn't come, they weren't brought here, and they don't have an oppressed mindset. So they already know that they're accepted back home, and they're coming here. They join their same communities here, and yes, they're a part of society, but we know that they thrive because they accept each other. They support each other. As soon as they find out somebody, related or not, moved here from their country, they're supporting it because they accept them. And that's where the limit is with us. We have to, and if it's going to change, it's going to be because this generation, we choose to make the change.
Right. So
we cannot.
You guys are speaking truth.
We can't wait. We cannot rely on Metro Boomin. We cannot rely on Designer to lead the charge for black people to accept each other when he doesn't even speak English.
Yeah, it's got to be a balance because you walk through society and you're like, I don't want to assimilate and just totally disregard my culture or where I came from. I want to be able to identify with hip-hop culture without them thinking that I'm going to rob or kill them or something, or I'm on drugs or something like that. We want to have that balance. We can accept who we are, but still progress to the point where we're not all negative or mostly negative statistics. So we got to have that balance. So I agree.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for calling in, John. We appreciate your comments.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. John Queen from Boss FM's with the Rebuttal weighing in on this conversation. We have to take a quick break, and that is going to do it for this segment. Lots to say, and this is just how it goes down at the ShakeUp. All right. Final thoughts and comments or throwbacks. 1-844-99-SHAKE.
1-844-997-4253 at the ShakeUp AM on Instagram and Twitter. Keep it locked right here. You're listening to the ShakeUp.
You're listening to The Shake Up, your number one mobile morning show.